Hi guys, I am making this video for all the girls, the women that are going through PMS or PMDD or severe PMS, or don't quite know what's going on a monthly basis but have noticed that there's some stuff going on physically and emotionally linked to the cycle. This is my first video. I didn't expect this to be the topic for my channel off the get-go. I didn't expect for it to be the first video, but I kind of want to get this message out there like ASAP, because I know for every single minute or moment we waste, there is a girl or a woman that is having a real hard time with PMS or PMDD. And I've just had a consultant with a super specialist in the field in London, and he's given me some real practical advice around next steps forward, and some more insight and confirmation as to what it's like to actually live with PMS or PMDD. So throughout the meeting, there were lots of moments where I had short bursts of like reconfirmation, sorry I lost my words there, confirmation that I wasn't going mad. So a couple of things that I want to cover off. I know you've never met me, but I'm 33, live in London, and noticed about 4 or 5 years ago that I was having real problems with anxiety and depression. I hadn't linked it to my cycle back then. I knew from the get-go, sort of 2021, 22 onwards, that I'd sort of get really teary around my period, but never really linked stuff that was going on in my life to how I was feeling emotionally around my cycle. So 4 years ago, I had a massive emotional breakdown, lots of factors, relationship, work, health, and just felt like I couldn't focus emotionally. I couldn't sort of give any more of myself to anyone. I didn't want to work at the specific place that I was working at. It just all came to a loggerhead, really. And then since then, I've had a few emotional setbacks, but on a monthly basis, without fail, I struggle with anxiety and depression. The interesting thing is, through therapy and lots of work on myself, I've realised, thankfully, that I can link it back to my period. So I know 10 days, sort of 10 days like clockwork before my period and during my period. So that's important to note as well. During my period, I have anxiety, depression. I get super teary, sad, emotional, self-esteem is like zero. Really insecure, and I go through a whole host of stuff, and one of my main symptoms was OCD. Not the type of OCD where I am doing rituals or anything like that, but more the ruminating about thoughts in my mind, ruminating around worries, not being able to sort of get past issues that I was experiencing at the time, or like sticky intrusive thought kind of OCD, obsessive thinking really. And what I've noticed from tracking it is that I get it all the way, so it's 10 days before my period, through my cycle, and then it kind of disappears just after my cycle, and then I get a good sort of solid 7 days where I'm not experiencing much anxiety or depression, and I kind of feel on top of my game, and that I can sort of, rule the world. Me in a cape. But yeah, no, I mean, like, that I can kind of get up and go and do stuff, and I'm not thinking about problems, and if a problem comes my way, then I can kind of move past it pretty quick. But I've noticed there's a bit of a pattern. I've been to the GP. She prescribed me estrogen patches and told me to wear them as soon as my symptoms came on, for like the anxiety. So when I was near my cycle, as soon as my symptoms surfaced, then to put the patches on. I wasn't really sold about this idea, because if you do struggle with OCD, or if you don't and you're just super conscious of what goes in your body, you're gonna research, and I have something called endometriosis, which I'll talk about in another video, hopefully. And I was told by my consultant that did my endometriosis operation that I can't have estrogen unopposed, so I have to have progesterone with it for the mere fact that it could cause issues with the lining of my cervix and could become cancerous. So with that information, I went back to my gynecologist who did my endometriosis operation, and he did a blood test and said I was progesterone deficient and that I needed to take progesterone, and gave me a couple of tablets. And also I knew from the get-go that wasn't for me either. I really didn't think I was progesterone deficient. If anything, I thought I was estrogen deficient. Anyway, I took his advice and I took a couple of tablets, and it just made me feel terrible. So I knew progesterone wasn't the answer. And how I also knew that as well is a couple of times the doctors have prescribed me birth control. My last one that I tried was Celeste. That made me feel so bad. I could not even lift my head up off the pillow, and this was on day 2. So I stopped that immediately. Anyway, I did lots of research and I found a super specialist. There's a team of specialists here in London that specifically work with women that are menopausal, have PMS or PMDD, and are struggling with hormonal issues, or issues that have manifested physically or mentally and they don't know that they have a hormonal issue. Anyway, I was quite thankful. After lots of research, I found somebody that my insurance would cover, because it's quite expensive. And I went to see him today in London, and he took down all my symptoms. He took documents from my endometriosis specialist, who is also a gynecologist, the referral from my GP, and I spoke to him about the OCD symptoms and the anxiety and the depression. He asked me when it all started. I said 4 years ago, and midway he said to me, Raisa, from what you're experiencing, I really would like to prescribe some estrogen to you. So before I give you any information on this about what he has prescribed me, what he has prescribed me is specific to me. Nothing I say in this video is to replace your doctor's suggestions or medical advice or a professional opinion. I'm clearly stating what he has done for me after years and years and years of trying to get some sort of closure and understanding about what's going on with my body. So I urge you, if you take anything from this video, take what I say with a pinch of salt, but also seek professional advice, professional medical advice too. Okay, that bit's over. So he said to me, what I'd like to do is give you some some estrogen. He said, and I'm not saying you're estrogen deficient or progesterone deficient. It's very hard to tell in blood tests. He said to me, the truth is we don't know medically what causes PMDD or PMS. He said, all I know is that you would benefit with some estrogen. And he said, the fact that you are experiencing PMDD symptoms for so long during your cycle, I really would like to prescribe you some estrogen. And then he spoke to me about the benefits of estrogen, better skin. If your skin's dry, apparently it's really good for dry skin, helps sleep, helps anxiety, depression, gives you more energy, all of that stuff. I basically ticked for him in a sheet of all the symptoms I was experiencing, and he said to me, I really feel like you would benefit from something called Estradose or Estradil. Yeah, it's a pump lotion. I've been prescribed this to go on my thighs before moisturizing every day when I come out the shower, on my thighs and my butt area, 3 pumps. And then he said to me, he's going to give me Testagel, which is testosterone. Yeah, testosterone, yeah. He said in the UK there isn't a specific product for women, so this is actually for men. But he says it does the same thing. He's given me 1 sachet, and I've got to use this consistently with the estrogen. So every day, 1 sachet. I need to take literally 1/8 of the sachet. So 1 sachet is meant to last me 8 days. And then he gave me Ultragestan, which is the, I think it's the one of the closest or purest forms of progesterone they can give, so it's not synthetic, to take 1 capsule every month. So the beginning of every month he's given it to me for 7 days. So basically what he said to me is, I'm resetting your cycle. I'm going to give you an artificial cycle. You're going to go on these creams every single day, and then you're going to take the progesterone, which was prescribed to me last time as well, only for 7 days out of that month, and then you will follow with a bleed. He said your bleed might be a bit irregular, but he said we're kind of gonna reset it for you and then review it over 3 months. Having been through such a crap time experimenting with birth control and stuff and various medications, I know my body is super sensitive to chemicals, to progesterone, estrogen, you name it. But he has assured me that I'm not going to feel any negative effects. If I do, it's going to be stuff like breast tenderness, and he said I might get a slight headache, but mainly on the days that I take the progesterone. But the reason he's given me this is because I have endometriosis, which affects the cervix. So if he doesn't give me progesterone, then my cervix could get super thick and cancerous. So he's prescribed me this. Given that he is a top expert in this field, and probably only a handful are in the UK that I know of, I'm kind of going to go with what he has recommended. This all, a 3-month supply, has cost me £77 on a private prescription. But he said once we have a routine going, if there are no negative effects and I'm happy to continue, then he'll write to my GP, and my GP will be able to prescribe it on the NHS for me, which is good. But yeah, I'm just gonna roll with it. But a couple of things that I wanted to cover off really quickly is I asked him if OCD was common among women that were suffering PMS and premenstrual dysphoric disorder, and he said to me that that was a very common complaint among ladies and women, either physical OCD where they're over checking stuff, or are remunerating about negative or worrisome thoughts or intrusive thoughts in their mind. He said that was right up there with the complaint, like one of the top symptoms, along with anxiety, depression, fatigue, low self-esteem, and a whole host of other stuff, insomnia and stuff like that. So I'm gonna roll with it. I have seen some people that have, medical professionals, that told me this, and then another professional has told me that, and I've actually found somebody who did most of the talking and knew his stuff when it came to the female reproductive anatomy, and he specializes it, and I think he's on the Menopause Foundation in the UK as well. So I'm gonna roll with it. But I can't tell you what it felt like to know that women that go through this also experience low self-esteem, OCD, fatigue, sometimes a really foggy head, anxiety, depression, and all of that, especially the OCD for me. When we spoke about it today, I don't know, and he said to me, lots of women complain about that. I felt really bad, hence the video, that there are so many other women and girls that are going through this right now, and either haven't pinpointed this to do with their cycle, or think that something's wrong with them, when, I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is there must be so many people out there who are struggling in silence and are either going through the research stage, trial and error like I did, or have recognized that they have an issue with the hormonal cycle and need somebody to talk to. I'm happy to answer any questions. I've dealt with it for a few years. That's another thing he said. It's really common to symptoms to start or to get worse in your late 20s or early 30s. Mid-late, he said, you don't have to have been diagnosed with this or experiencing these symptoms as soon as you started having your periods or while you're in your teens. He said it's really common for this to happen to menopausal women that are going through the menopause or are approaching the menopause, or women that are in their late 20s, early 30s. So I just felt a huge sense of relief today that if anything comes out of this conversation, it's that all the symptoms that I am being treated for with medication and counselling and CBT and you name it, actually could be caused by a hormonal imbalance, especially around my cycle. I don't know, I just feel like there's not enough information on this out there on the internet, and doctors aren't talking about it. Doctors don't even know. the fact that one is prescribing me estrogen and the other one is prescribing me progesterone, and nobody's saying, hang on, we need to combine the two, but you know, we need to give more of one and less in the other. No one kind of takes a holistic approach. I'm all human, I have various things going on. Like, you'd feel like medical professionals would sort of take some accountability or look at the whole thing, but no. But I felt a sense, that's in the past anyway, I felt a huge sense of relief today that he was able to just confirm some stuff for me. And now I'm going to try this routine. And the reason I've done this video now without any fancy editing, or you know, this is my first video, which I didn't intend it for it to be, but is because there's not enough information out there. I've got loads more to share. I want to talk to ladies about endometriosis and what my experience of that is now, and how much better I am after the operation. And I also want to talk to ladies about antidepressants, especially amitriptyline. A lot of women that are suffering with gynecological problems such as endometriosis, fibroids, or menstrual issues can be prescribed amitriptyline just because of the sort of pain relieving aspect of the antidepressant, but also it helps with general anxiety and stuff like that. I've got so much more to share with you, but I really wanted to talk to you first about the estrogen that I was prescribed, the testogel that was prescribed, and the utrogestin, which is the progesterone. 3 months he's given me before my next consultation with him, and then he said if anything goes on in between that I should email him. I'm happy to give you his details or the clinic's details, but what I will say is he's not cheap. The first consultation I think is around £300, and then if he has to do blood work, that's separate. But if you can get your blood test at your GP, that might be an idea. And then following that, it's I think it's the same price for a follow-up consultation 3 months later and then a year later. But yeah, for all the ladies that are struggling out there, there are professionals out there that can pinpoint what's going on, track your cycle, know when it starts, when it stops. Get a hormonal tracker if you can on your phone as well, so you can expect the peaks and the lows from the estrogen and the progesterone, and you get a bit more conscious of your period and what it does to your mind, body, spirit, in fact. And then go armed with some information to your GP, and either your GP can refer you to a gynecologist who also specializes in menopause or PMS, or go out there and find someone yourself. You're either covered in your insurance, most places are covered with insurance, or you'd have to pay privately. But look, I'm going to give you an update within the 3 months, let you know how I get on with it. I'm super sensitive to hormones, but from what I've been told, I should be okay with this. And so if it resets my cycle and he gives me an artificial bleed, he has assured me there are no or minimal derogatory effects, bad effects of being on this long term. He said you might be on it for a year, a couple of years. Normally, he said, once women find something that works for them and they see they're not so up and down, they kind of are on it indefinitely. He said until you get pregnant, if you decide to have children, you come off it, because women don't tend to have PMS or PMDD while pregnant, and then when you give birth, then you'd go back on something like this. But he spoke about the only negative thing he said is that some women feel with the testogel, the testosterone, that you can grow hair or more hair in certain places like the chin and stuff, but I got a few there now anyway. But yeah, I just wanted to share all of that. There is hope. Look, my t-shirt says stronger together. Oh, I didn't mean to make the video while I was wearing this t-shirt, but it's obviously a message for you. Definitely are stronger together. We need to talk about stuff like this. Feel free to comment down below. Let me know what you're going through, how you're feeling, what works for you. I've got bags and bags and bags of experience in this department because I've struggled with it for so long. Normally it's just trial and error, and get seen by the right person and take their advice if it sounds right with you. But yeah, I just want to send that message out there. Lots of love, and hopefully I'll see you again.